All right, Wrap Shop Talk. So today I've got Austin LaSource with It's Vinyl, y'all. And I've met this dude. I've followed him for a while. He ended up becoming a customer with another business I'm with. And uh, this dude's got it together. So I wanted to get him on this podcast and wanted to hopefully provide some value to some people, especially shops that might be out there struggling to scale. He's operating his business like a true business owner. One of the things that he said the other day that impressed me was, I love installing, but I get to choose whether I install or not. And I think that's the goal. So tell us about how, you got started into this. I mean, how many years are you into it? Tell us about your business, et cetera.
Yeah, so formerly we started the business in 2000 and between 12 and 13, but we were mostly just an online like sticker company. Um and part of my whole story is like I have three kids, but my oldest or would be oldest passed away in 2016. He had cancer, and I'll talk more about that. But in the midst of going through that, he was born in 2012. Um, I had a corporate job in marketing, and I wanted to earn additional income. And being an entrepreneur, I've had e-commerce sites previously selling various products, and I was like, what can I create at my house that I can do in the evenings that I can mail in an envelope? And it was stickers, decals, labels, truck magnets, things like that that were not big, heavy lift. So it started there and kind of morphed into getting a lot of clients that wanted us to do vehicle graphics and partial wraps and things like that. And so between 2012 and 2016, when Ryan passed away, we really kind of went down that path of larger signage, like for like real estate and things like that, like temporary and semi-permanent. We don't do anything lit or anything, but just any kind of vinyl-based signs. And we moved into vehicle wraps. And in 16, I did my 3M preferred. Um, and then I think 17, I did Avery and so on. So I've got 3M, Avery, Oracle, and KPMF certifications. Um, in 2016, we got our very first brick and mortar, which was scary because we were all online originally and didn't really have a shop. I would use customers' locations, things like that, more of like a transient installer if I was doing it. And we got a physical location. We hired our very first employee, which was a graphic designer, because I felt like if we're going to be full service, I want to control the process. And so we hired that role because I could install, my wife could sell, and kind of manage the customer workflow. And we did that. And that's kind of where we started with our former software that we're moving away from to where we're going to you now. We're searching for a way to manage the hectic nature of like all these worlds coming together. Um, as we, so many of us in the industry say, but design, print, install, it's an overused term, but like it's really what it is. If you truly design and then print and install, you can kind of guide the customer through that process to ensure they get, right, what they're expecting, what they need that's going to convert and sell for them. And we've grown to we have 10 employees now, much bigger building that we own. And, you know, it's great. We love it. My wife is a stay at home mom now, and we've replaced her, a couple years ago. And we have a team of people that are really, into doing their job and doing it well, taking care of the customer, prioritizing what's important. And so, as you said, I can step away from the installs or even step away from the office for that matter, and everything. The ship keeps sailing, is what I like to say. Everything keeps moving. But I love being here. It gives me a purpose, gives me something to come and do. But when my son, who's 6, has something at school, I don't miss.
It's important, man. Like a lot of people, including myself. I mean, I went through this whole phase where a lot of us go through and we say we're doing it for our family or we're building a legacy or we're doing something, but like oftentimes it's kind of a crutch that people lean on as like an excuse to actually hide from home.
Right.
And that was, like it was the case for me where like I actually enjoyed the environment at work much more
Mm.
than the environment that we said that we were building this for. And so I think that's important to put in perspective that, we do need to build businesses for freedom. That's not meant to be a cage for you to be stuck into. And some of us
That's
just
right.
cope. We cope.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people, probably that are in our industry and others for that matter. I mean, this goes for anybody, anywhere, but so
Yes,
many people
especially
get
blue
into it.
collar.
Yeah, exactly. Like whenever I went to a 4-year college in Mississippi State, and my dad and my grandfather were both like, "You need to go get a real job." I had 2 e-commerce sites that were making really good money, um, more than what I got paid out of my first job. My very first job out of college was $22,000. That was in 2009, and I was like, "This is terrible." But after having kind of lived that life of, I got, those handcuffs really of, you're in a corporate job, it's consistent pay, you got insurance, all the things. I felt like I couldn't leave. And with the life change that we had when my son passed away, that's kind of what gave me the I guess mentality of, I've got nothing else left to lose. I say it to a lot of people. I told my wife that, at that time, we've lost our son, the most important thing to us in this world. The only other thing that we could lose is our house. And I was like, if you're willing to say that you'll stay with me no matter what, let's do this thing. And so we did. With not a lot of sales and not a lot of proof of concept necessarily. We were probably doing, 15, 20,000 bucks a month online. I mean, that's really good, but like, it was only enough to, like, when I was looking at it from a number standpoint, I was like, we're going to have to grow this thing in order to make it work, so that we can take a paycheck and, and really grow it. So, anyways, it was a big deal for me to jump off that ledge and sort of go into something that, in my eyes at the time, wasn't guaranteed. But what I realize now, sitting on the other side of it, is like that corporate job only feels so safe, but it really isn't.
You are not safe in a corporate job. I have the biggest frustration with lenders and stuff that like when you're buying a home or something like that as a business owner, like how hard it is. Like my underwriter told me that I had to provide more documentation than anybody they've ever seen for like money laundering,
Mm,
all these things. It's like, why do you guys crap all over the business owners? It's no different than a big corporation. There is an owner at the end of the day,
yeah.
and people get laid off just as quick as people get let go from a poorly managed small business. Like it's just as volatile. Um, but I think it's really cool. One biggest thing is that you how important do you think it is to have a partner that aligns with your vision?
Oh, I think it's so important. I mean, my wife is the she's I say this carefully, like, don't take this the wrong way, but she's the best and the worst thing as far as my business goes, because it's her business too. She's so good at what she does, and she's so analytical and in a critical she's so critical in a good way. There's times when I don't wanna ask her opinion because I'm like, I don't wanna know what she's gonna
Is that
say,
to get
you
it?
know? Um, but it really is, like, the best thing ever because it was, I mean, I guess you could say it like this, you need some reassurance in your decision making, right? So if you have somebody else that's there you can bounce the ideas off of, you can talk to, you can make sure that you're going in the direction that you really should be doing. Um, so many of our decisions were financial decisions along the way, whether it be hiring somebody and how much do we pay them? Is this the right fit for our company? Should we buy this new printer or this new piece of equipment or buy this building that we bought? Things like that. And being able to have someone who's she's so level-headed and very just like she's really good with numbers, and so that helped me a ton, and even to this day, like, I don't involve her in every detail of the business, but, whenever I have those big decisions, I go to her and we kind of, we break it down and talk through it, and again, there's sometimes I'm like, "I don't want you to talk about that part of it. I just want this answer right here," kind of break this down for me because she is so good at that, but I'm also so thankful that she can be a stay-at-home mom and, like, this job, this business provides us that opportunity.
Awesome. One second.
No, you're good.
These dogs at some point always bark. But man, that's fantastic. I think that's the ultimate goal. And I think that, it was very unfortunate you guys went through the circumstance you did, but the best
Mhm.
part is you can only play the cards that you're dealt. And you guys chose rather than, victim mindset. It's like you have two more kids.
Mhm.
I'm sure they're going to have the best lives and the best support that they could ever have, uh, due to the decisions that you guys are making. Like you said, you're
Yep.
not going to miss a child's anything.
Right.
And you also have the perspective of why.
Yeah. That's right. Yep.
Uh,
So to give, like, the 10,000 foot view of kinda what happened, Ryan was born in 2012. He was diagnosed at 6 months with leukemia. We went through 3+ years of treatment. Um, he died at 3.5 years old, but he went through treatment. He went through bone marrow and stem cell transplants here in Mississippi. And then we moved to Durham, North Carolina, and went to Duke for his final treatments there, where he ultimately passed away. We didn't have any other kids at the time. My corporate jobs, as bad as they were a blessing because they allowed me to be remote and to kind of do what I needed to. And then we've since, brought we have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, a boy and a girl, Bo and Lexi. And, we've since brought them into this world. But like just seeing, Bo's eyes light up when he comes into the shop and, wanting like at school, everybody saying they want to be a policeman and a fireman and all that. And he's like, I want to work at his final, y'all. I want to be there with my dad doing what he does. And he asked me the other day, what age did you start doing what you do? Because he's in his mind thinking, at what age can I come and start working? And I love that. I feel like that's being instilled in him by just my actions of, I drive him to school every day, and he knows I'm going to work afterwards to do certain things. He sees it and he gets excited about it. But it's like the work ethic that not a lot of people are passing down, I guess, these days. I don't know. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, so I have a pretty similar story. Obviously, I don't have kids. Working towards that eventually, but the uh, Dakota, my lead installer,
Mm,
was telling me when we were on my 250-mile run that his son is struggling in school,
mm,
and his son is one of those incredibly intelligent struggling in school. He's bored with the school. It's
mm.
not intelligent. It's because he's bored with the class. He's like, this is below me in a way, and he's
Yep.
that smart. And he comes to his dad, and his dad goes, "Son, you're gonna get held back if we don't fix this class." And he goes, "Well, why do I need it anyway when I can be like you and go work at a business?"
Yeah.
Already, like, perspective, like, his perspective on life is totally different because, like, we treat our installers where there's a forever, climb for them to strive for. But essentially, he was just like, "You make more money than most people, dad."
Hmm.
Gracias. Ah, the cleaning lady is leaving. But, the idea that the kid is seeing his dad go,
Hmm.
and he comes in after hours and he plays with the vinyl, and he works, and he also sees the freedom that his dad has, like, where same thing, like, at our shop, our installers, they get to make their own schedule for the most part as long as the deadline is met. So,
Right.
if there's school, there's something there, then we'll give the flexibility as long as, again, the deadline is met. And then we also
Right.
try to reach out to the installers too if it's really busy, like, "Hey, is there anything coming up that we need to look out for so we don't overbear you?" But
Hmm.
those family values are massively important in our business because what's the point of me sitting over here and not being in my business and being free and then, like, just not allowing other people to provide value but also have those freedoms too?
Yep. I totally agree with that. I think it's a new way, to for all of us, our industry is still so, I don't want to say new because obviously
But
there's a lot of people that have been doing it for quite a while, but like it's new relative to most other things. And we have a huge opportunity to kind of create a path for um really good growth potential, really good like what I did a podcast with my friend Paul recently talking about, it's called anyway, just talking about growing the business. And one of the things we hit on was the Sunday scaries is what his wife called it. It's like when you are Sunday afternoon kind of rolling around and you're getting all, you know, anxiety driven and all this other stuff about going to work on Monday because there's so many people that live that life. And it's like, I don't have that. I look forward to on Sunday what we have coming up on Monday. We have a really good balance of work and life. We truly live by that. We don't work the weekends. We don't work nights. If we have a special occasion that comes up, we'll do it. I mean, we, charge adequately and that kind of thing. But otherwise, we're 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Our customers know that. The jobs will be here when we get back. We set that expectation up front and we stand to it. When we do, say, a wedding dance floor on Saturday, there's no option. We have to do it that day. But that employee knows they're going to get a bonus for working that overtime. They're also going to be paid time and a half on their regular pay. And then if we have to go back and do the removal, say on Sunday, same difference. We're going to charge the customer an after hours, nights and weekends fee, and we're going to explain the benefit and the value of that, and then we're going to give that. over to the customer. I mean, to the employee rather. Just to show that value to them and like appreciate and thanks. Um, now I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought on that, but just in general, knowing I guess kind of that every day that I go into work, that it's something that I love doing, that I enjoy doing, that I'm happy to be here. But I also have flexibility in like we're gonna wrap many different vehicles or, walls in a business or things like that. And I'm not having to go in and just suffer through, okay, I'm 39 years old and I'm working a corporate job and I have to do this until I'm 67 or whatever to retire. It's like I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? And you just feel doom and gloom all the time. That's depressing and sad. So it's like let's all of us at least in this industry, let's create a new path for people. Like there's tons of people that want to be employees and that's great, we need those, but we need people that feel valued and feel like they've got something great to do and they have flexibility to go to their kids things. And we get super involved with the schools here, and we bring them in for like field day trips, field trip days, I guess is what way I would say it, and show them what we do from front of the house to the back. So you could be an account manager, you could be a designer, you could be a production person, you could be an installer, and they get to kind of see everything. We run them through the full deal, and these kids' eyes light up. And then we bring them in summertime for internships that we pay. Like hey, we'll give them a good wage for an hourly job to come in and help us with production or different jobs and things of that nature. Anyway, it's just really cool to like see that and sort of hopefully we're trying to build here in Mississippi. We have a unique market. It's very different. There's not a lot of wrap shops. There's not a lot of interest or knowledge of like what we do. People think it's kind of like a foreign language, truly. And so we're trying to encourage more growth in that area of like we need we need strong-willed young people to want to work and do this.
Well, on top of that, I hear a lot of excuses from some people of, "Oh, I'm in a small population market.
Right.
It can't be successful. It can't be this, it can't be that." I've always thrived in the small markets, and I'm learning how to do big city now that I closed my 13-year shop from a little
Mhm.
town to Jacksonville, and it's a whole different ball game as far as how you have to play it. But doing those elements, like you're talking about, getting involved with the community, uh, you only have so much talent pool to go through in all population areas. So
Yeah.
you actually catching kids while they're in high school is massively important because you get the cherry pick off the top. You can see the
Mhm.
people who are going to be killers, and I've had nothing but success with the youth of today.
Yeah.
People always say, "Oh, these kids don't want to work," but no, they want to work, but they're just very impatient with the A to Z. The
Right.
timeline of their progress is what they're impatient with, and or they will see you on your crap much faster if they'll come work for you, but they won't come work for a guy pushing a squeegee.
That's right. Yep.
The reason why is because they're like, if the owner's still pushing a squeegee after 10 years, is that
Mhm.
for me?
Yep.
And they're like, I want to see a path for me to go to grow.
Mhm.
So the only way you can actually attract like your high tier talent is not by working in the back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unless you got like some high tier, you know, players on the team and your job's like training. Like there is a role for that. But the youth of today, they just see past all the nonsense. I think they're so heavily advertised to, and there's so much information out there that like you can't pull wool over their eyes. They can see
Right.
right through it.
Well, there's just like it's it's the information availability. Everybody's talking about this now because we're trying to. There's so much technology and like kind of trying to keep it out of our, or at least me, we're trying to keep it out of our kids' hands as long as we can. Like as young kids, it's affecting their brains and all this other stuff negatively, or at least there's opinions and some research that shows that. But the ability for people to just like pick up their phone and Google something and find it, and um, whenever we were growing up, that wasn't an option. We didn't have that, right? You had to like go find it or search it somewhere else or talk to somebody who had done it and seen it. And I think that's part of the reason why there's so much more of like that instant gratification. You think about it, like you watch Netflix, there's no commercials. Whereas like growing up, we just had to wait till our favorite show came on at 3 p.m. and we had to suffer through commercials. I mean, like again, the instant gratification. And so I think a lot of that plays into people graduate college or high school now and they have an expectation of like a certain level of dollar that they want to make. And it kind of has created a perfect storm of, like a bunch of people that are super entitled and not capable. And so, like you said, getting involved in finding those killers. And we found people even still that are like, they just want to be the best employee that you've ever had, and they wanna get here and sit down and, like, not physically sit, but, like, do the job, do it really, really well, and work hard and hit goals, but, like, they have no desire to go all that much farther into it. Like, I wanna, say, I wanna run production or I wanna do design, like, and that's what I wanna do, and that's great because you gotta have those people too.
1000%.
And we're just trying to find cool and unique ways to I've heard you say it before. I think you used this word, but be magnetic to those that you want. Like instead of saying like I can't find people, but it's like let them find you by the things you're doing in your business to attract them. And so we're trying to create that positive visibility of our business in the area, in the market, but in the industry, so people in other states know us. So when y'all get big jobs in Mississippi, you're going to pick up the phone and call us to do those installs, or say Alabama, Louisiana, wherever it is, it's nearby. Um, and then we can go do those for you because you know that like they're a great company. They have good processes and practices, and they're going to install it correctly. They're going to stand behind it. Um, and all of those things and like getting the kids involved. I can't tell you how many people we have gotten work from because they're like, my kid told me about you. It's like a guy that owns a huge trucking company with hundreds of trucks, or a guy that's the general manager of a grocery store or whatever it is. Like they put our name in the hat, and all of a sudden we've got opportunities because of a connection that we made just by doing something in the community, just doing something helpful. And we were looking at it from an employment standpoint, and now we're getting jobs off of it.
It's interesting. Yeah, I think that in general with your business, being magnetic is important. It's a highly underutilized thing. People I almost think owners are actually entitled that people must work at their place. No, like create a place where people want to work at your place and you'll have no issue. So like all of our best installers right now, like my guy was out getting an oil change and one of the oil change techs was like, "Man, I really want to wrap cars." He goes, "My boss is awesome at creating opportunities. Why don't you just come by?" That's all he said.
Mhm,
Kid comes by, I showed him my one page, here's your path to 100K. He's a year and a half, 2 years into installing. He's knocking out mid roof transits in 12 hours. He's making six figures this year
mm, that's awesome.
from an oil tech at a five-star Jiffy Lube. And those guys get paid like 35K max.
Mm,
And so that was just from I had not a job ad. That was from my employee who felt valued,
right.
said, come feel valued here if you're willing to work. And that's so freeing because like we all of our employees, we didn't hire from a job ad. We hired from they were a server, they were
Mm.
crushing it, had a conversation. Like keep your eyes up at all times for the people that you want because they're employed by somebody else.
Well, on like servers, that's such a good point. I did a little bit of that in college, but it teaches you how to talk to people. It teaches you how to sell without selling, right? Like explain why somebody needs this and the benefit without feeling like you're pushing something on them that you yourself don't even believe in. Um, but communication is so important because gosh, like some of the biggest reasons why we've hired installers who were green, they had no experience, like you were saying that guy. Because number one, we could teach them good habits, but like number two, they knew how to talk to people. So when I send them to a job off site 3 hours away, I don't have this shy and timid person looking down at the ground, not communicating clearly. It's like they can explain what's going on, but I mean, you've done this before. You got to on the fly make a change. Like, hey, we didn't know that you know fire alarm was on the wall there. So now we're gonna have to shift the print and it's gonna do this or whatever it is. You have to do something and they need to be able to articulate that clearly. And like I tell my guys all the time, if you can explain or give a reason for what you're doing, like to a customer, like, hey, we need to make this change or adjust this or whatever, like they're gonna listen to you because you're the professional. They want to just know what do we think. And so you don't need to be unsure in your answer. You need to give them the right answer.
So I completely agree, especially when things hit the fan, you know.
Mhm.
Heaven forbid something happens, and they could be able to keep that customer calm, cool, and collected, and ensure that things are being handled, things are in place, or they also understand that you did agree to this, and this was a 1% opportunity to occur, but that's still okay. We're still going to handle it. Blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. But in growing your business, what what were some of the struggles that you went through early on? Like, because everybody's a little different. Like, my skill set was not in leadership at all. It's in
Mm.
you coming from like a marketing background. It seems like sales and front end was like, obviously you did the install because you had to, but
Mhm.
like
Right.
sales and front end, you guys like it's impressive how well you guys do this. Um, where were where were your points specifically in growing early on? Like, let's just say the most common shops like the 2 to 5 employee range, and I
Mhm.
also feel like that's the most difficult time because you need leverage, but you don't have capital.
Right. That's right. So I felt like all right, so I felt kinda isolated when we started our business because, again, there's a few shops in the state that do well, and well is like operate and do vehicle wraps. I mean, I'm not even putting a number to it, but there's a couple that are really big and do really, really, really great stuff. And then there's a bunch of guys that are here today and probably not gonna be here next week or next year. Um, so we kind of wanted to create our own processes. And so I know processes are a big thing. And whenever I was in corporate, again, these are things that I learned there. Like processes are so important. As you talk about standard operating procedures and, mission, vision, core values, all the things that meant something to the business, we tried to incorporate the best we could with each hire and explain why why our marching orders. This is why we do things this way. And again, the end result was to give our clients meet and exceed their expectations. And not just say that, but truly do it. Because so many times now, especially, we have clients come to us that we don't even have to get, but they're coming to us because they're like, we've been using one of your competitors and they're not answering their phone. They're getting poor service. The installation's no good. Their timelines aren't met, whatever it is. And we're doing all of that because we try to over communicate, you know, and make sure that we deliver at least what we say, but sometimes better than that if we can. Um, and we tell people we're more expensive and that kind of stuff in a lot of regards as well. But to answer your question more specifically, it was things like that. The hardest part was creating those processes from not knowing this industry. When I first started, we didn't know. The first printer I bought was let's see, it was a gosh, I cannot think of the brand. Anyways, it's not relevant. But the very first printer I bought it from a local paper company here. They didn't sell very many wide format printers. They didn't really know what they were doing. And then we got a Graphtec FC 8600 plotter, and trying to put those 2 together as far as, like, print, cut, process it was muddy. Everybody had a different explanation of how to do it, and you know, so those kinds of things were so hard to figure out in the beginning, and we wasted so much time and material doing it way wrong. Um, Printing a whole vehicle with no overlaps, and it's like, oh my gosh, stuff like that because you didn't know in the RIP software where to hit overlap, or not knowing and realizing it. And then I was a really bad leader in regards to my emotions. So like I led people well because we knew what we were doing, but when times got tough and we made those mistakes, I got hot. I got irritated and then it flowed downhill. And I had to learn real fast that I wasn't going to keep and maintain employees by creating frustration across the board. I have to keep my cool and again, like employ people who can help me in these decision making processes. Like Shelby, our general manager here, there's many things that come along that's her thing. Like y'all go ask her. That's a decision that she's going to make. She's leading the team from that regard, and so that goes through her wheelhouse. And I think once we got and this is really what brought me to you years down the road now with software, but once we really got a little bit of we were using Shopbox originally, and I hope it's okay I can say that. But anyway, we were using them and it was fine and it served its purpose, but, um, there was still a lot of things that we couldn't quite figure out. And we began using Google Voice for text messaging and calling. And, we got our email system through Google as well. So we were trying to tie all that together and then using the cloud through Google. And anyway, just a lot of things and trying to figure out how to make the experience work and be seamless or be something that felt consistent that we could all march and like not forget things, right? Um, Getting rid of my personal cell phone that so many people use to text me, "Hey, can you do this order?" Right? And in the beginning, I was the yes man. I said yes to everything, and I had to get away from that. It's like you can't give quotes on the fly, and you can't say yes to everything because we're not doing it all. I guess it was one of those things in the early days where I was trying to justify the income of a job that we didn't want to do to pay the bill for the employee that we hired. It was like the nerves of, like you said, you didn't have the capital or the ability between 2 and 5 employees. We took on equipment, but then we bought a building in what is now a new city, but it wasn't a city. It's called Gluckstadt, here in Mississippi. And I finally got to the place where I felt comfortable, after we built processes and we see the jobs come in. I mean, we've talked about it, but like our inbound from our website alone produces lots and lots of leads every single day for everything from window tint to
Absolutely insane.
um,
The amount of leads that you have coming inbound, I'm just like, dang it, man, I need this in my life. Cause you're doing SEO based marketing
right. That's right.
and doing it incredibly successfully, by the way. Like a lot of SEO agencies say that they're going to do all this and that. It's a bunch of jargon that just
Yeah.
keeps you on board for 6 months and then you churn out. But whatever you guys are doing is insane. And what's cool about the SEO base is like that's there forever. You could
Yep.
stop your marketing guy and be good for the next 2, 3, 4 years,
Mhm.
probably. And it's very slow diminish. Whereas like me, we went like I got tired of SEO guys and we went all in on paid ads and we're spending like 4 or 5K a month.
Mhm.
But our return on investment's great. I mean, we're at $20 a lead. We got to churn a whole lot of leads in order to not make money on that. So
Yeah.
but the minute I stop, it's done. It's off.
Right.
It's a fast car. The motor blows up. Like
Well, and
so
I don't remember the exact context, but I listened to your podcast with Brad whenever it was. You're in, Mexico, or I guess you're always in Mexico, but when you were at
it's
the
actually
post Cocodona, he said something like, and I think it was him, but anyway, he said something like, people like to flex and say like, "I spend $0 on marketing," but really that's not the flex. It's more of like, you know, spending the proper money and doing things to grow and build your business even more. And so I've kind of have always been that way myself, like saying we don't spend any money, and we really don't. We spend money on SEO. It's really just one person, but a company. And he works with us and one other place that's not in our industry. We kind of really hone in and go very, very deep on kind of what our goals are and the things we're trying to target. And that's how we do that. But all the other marketing dollars that we spend we have found honestly like so much fruit in going to, again, like our local schools, other organizations that we feel like are very important that have fed us so much business. We get behind the mission of, if we have a really big customer and they're really big into, say, and this is not a real example, but let's say they were really into like breast cancer awareness. If are super involved in that, we might put some of our marketing dollars over in that breast cancer awareness because, again, it shows our support for that. But we have just seen in a different kind of way, like awareness in those arenas because it's people that are like them that are in business or have businesses like them. And we've gotten a lot of work from that. We're trying to really kind of continue to really um, carve out unique ways to market and do it like that. We've talked about doing some paid ads, and we probably should start doing some. I'd like to, probably pick your brain on that some because I think it is hugely beneficial. But I also want to make sure that we grow smart in the way that, after what we're looking for. And again, like right now, we're so fortunate in our inbound being so much of what we want. But I don't want to take that for granted either because all it takes is one other person hammering in the same ways because, there's lots of smart people out there that can do SEO and grow. So we're trying to always stay ahead of that curve and
well,
do more. But
that's called exploring and exploiting. It's a framework that I came across on a podcast, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. So you know, I explored and paid ads just happened to hit.
Yeah.
And so I'm exploiting that right now, but the market could become saturated and figure out kind of what we're doing, and 3, 4 other people could do this exact same thing, and then we gotta continue on exploration again until the next thing hits. So
Mhm.
you constantly like SEO's working for you. It's a moving target for everybody. But I do think that doing like community driven stuff. There's a plumber I know. His name is Mitch Medley. His logo is so simple. It's just a dog over top of a green icon, says Smedley Plumbing, and, he's in Missouri. But this man, at the first Monday of every month, his entire team goes to elderly community stuff and just
Mm.
does community service in the community.
That's awesome.
The dude crushes,
Oh, yeah.
but his whole team, he pays them to work that day
Yeah.
to do community service, and he found that that was, like, his biggest ROI on marketing. That's still
Yeah.
paying for marketing. You're paying with time and energy and resources,
Right.
so you have to figure out what it is that you're going to do, 'cause, um, yeah, I mean, it's just different for everybody, but, like, you definitely have to continue to explore, and it should be your duty to grow the business, because if not, then these awesome people that work for you,
Mm.
they're gonna go find the next person that eventually you're gonna be the stepping stone,
Yep. Yep.
and not
I
hurt.
mean, one other thing that we've really been doing over, like, the last 2 years, and again, this is from you and some of the other guys in our industry that I feel like are really paving the way on, like, some of the business side of wrap shops, right? Like, thinking more about the business side, and I know I haven't gone to it, but I know I think it's an Avery class that's specifically for that and some other stuff, but,
Mhm.
um, I think that's so important, and so what we've tried to do is look at what do we want to do and what do we not wanna do? What makes us money and what gives us stress? Like, so PPF, we don't do PPF. I didn't like it. We were good at it, but way time consuming. If you make a mistake, it's super costly. Um, those customers, at least for us, were very nitpicky and difficult. You could tell them paint protection, not paint perfection all day long, and they're still gonna get their magnifying glass out when they come to pick up their, McLaren or whatever it is, because they bought a, $500,000 vehicle and they're gonna nitpick it. So for me, I'm like, we could fill our shop with as many commercial vehicles as possible, have great days Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, leave here with a smile on our face and no stress, very little at least. Or we could have one supercar in here, every other day or whatever it is doing PPF and be stressed out the whole time on the delivery. So we started to cut a lot of stuff like that and find some strategic partnerships where we can like feed that business to them with no strings attached. I don't want any money. I want this customer to be served. That's it. Serve them well, take good care of them, or you just say we don't do it, which has really, really turned out good for us. But we're trying to find ways to get even tighter with what we're doing or not doing in that regard and help us grow in that way. We're kind of at a crossroads now where we really need more building, but this city has grown up around us now. And so the land cost alone is crazy. And there's not a lot here because it's a new city and it was county. It was just, kind of out just 5 or 6 miles outside the nearest city. And anyway, we're at that crossroads now trying to decide like how do we bite off a new building and a huge loan and more debt, or do we kind of keep operating where we are with a better profit margin and just kind of get more strategic with what we do? And um that's just being transparent, kind of one of the places where we're at now, like trying to look at, because we do grow. We've grown every single year since we've been in operation. Many years have been really huge growth. Others have been, you know, a little bit less because again, we've dropped some things to that brought in revenue, but again, they were way less profitable. But we've been really, really good at keeping a consistent profit margin. Probably the last 3 or 4 years um, have been almost dead on exactly the same, which is really incredible. We've been focusing on profit and not revenue, and I think again, I've heard you guys say that, but it doesn't really matter what the big number means if you're not making any money. And so I want to be able to pay myself. I want to be able to pay my team. I don't want any stress worrying about that or like our credit card bill or, things like that. I want to make sure that, outside of our building here, we're totally debt free. We own all of our equipment and all of our shop vehicles and all that stuff. And so much of that's to credit to my family for raising me that way. But we've operated a business that has not been outside of our means or outside of, you know, what's highest and best use of the dollars that we're spending. And I think we've really seen some fantastic growth from that alone, just from having like, you know, a plan. I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, well, we navigate business without a GPS, yet we use it just to go to the gas station every day. Like,
Right.
and one is way more detrimental to your life than the other.
Absolutely.
So, I think it's really cool. I mean, because I mean, fundamentally, you've basically fabricated your. I think you have high standards, and I think most people don't.
Mm,
And that's something that I've learned that I had very low standards. I had high standards for my work, but I didn't have high standards for myself.
mm,
Um, and a lot of people don't value their time. They don't value what their future is going to look like. They don't value all of those things. And that's the reason why we are willing to bend backwards for our customers. But then you look at like ourselves and we're at work till 11 o'clock at night and neglecting ourselves. We're not, eating. We're highly unhealthy. We're all these things.
mhm.
And it's like, dude, if you actually look at it, you can only serve your customers to the highest level when you have the highest standards for self.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not out there running 250 miles,
Well,
but I do run every day, and it's look, if I'm having a stressful day or something's going on, I mean, we've talked about it. I'll break away at 2, 3, 4 o'clock, whatever it is, or noon, and from my shop right here, I'll go run a couple miles and just do that, come back, kind of clear my head, and just
well,
get into a better space. But yeah, it's
just to live.
absolutely
You basically said that customer service and outcome is the number one priority.
right.
Okay. So if that's the case, and you're neglecting yourself, and maybe you have a high pain tolerance like me, like I have an incredibly high pain tolerance, including in masochistic, overworked, not taking care of yourself,
Mhm.
hit rock bottom, don't care, let me keep digging. That's a lot of us, unfortunately. A lot of us, we say that we want to take care of the customer and then we start digging that hole. I got to the point where I would be so frustrated with my customers that like I wouldn't necessarily lose all my customers because of the weight that I did have. But if I
Mhm.
continued down that path, I would have ran my business into zero
Yep.
or stagnated and just been stuck in that forever because like I wasn't happy dealing with people. I'd be in the back and I'd be pissed that a new customer walked into the front door and I had to walk to
Mhm.
the front just to deal with them because that also delayed me on the thing that I was due by.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how can you be pissed at the person that wants to give you money?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
because then you
so
stop filling the funnel.
and so you it's like a weird sense of entitlement though, but it's all caused by you. And
Mhm.
so if you are raising your standard for certain things, then you'll hire better. You'll just everything all around comes from that foundation of having higher standards for self.
Mhm.
And it's great. And then you start holding people accountable to those same standards eventually if you
Yeah.
know, and then ever like now it's to the point where the standards are so high within the workplace that my team fires staff before my GM even says fire that person. Like they literally came to their person on a Monday and is like, yo, this guy came in drunk 2 days in a row. We need to cut him.
Mm. Yeah,
No questions asked, cut. See ya.
absolutely.
So, I just think that it's just an elevation of standards at a fundamental or viewpoint. And, if customer service is your highest priority, then it's your duty to make sure that's done. And if you need to go take a run, sorry, customer, listen, I need a break for right now. In order to serve you to the highest level, one moment.
Yeah.
And go get it done and then come back and then serve that person. Because if not, you're not going to want to do the duties or you're going to half ass it. There's no point in doing that.
Well, and see, like, so going back to the hiring and, like, building the business, graphic design was our first hire. So I had myself doing installs and sales. My wife was doing kind of the back end accounting and all that stuff, and then talking to customers, dealing with jobs, like making sure everything's going. And then we had a graphic designer. But shortly thereafter, we hired another what we called account manager. So basically somebody that's gonna help take care of the clients, right? And project manage, take care of the jobs. Um, and only then did we start to build our install team after we kind of had the front of the house and the process put together because we could, if you can't deal with the work on the front end, you certainly can't install it on the back end, right? And then when you get over saturated on one or the other, it causes that stress because I can remember that when I was in the back working and then I had to go to the front and somebody wanted to talk to me. And I don't know, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And we finally got some great team members up front, is what we call it, that customers started calling in asking for them and they started walking in the front door asking for them. And I'm like, this is what we've been waiting on this whole time, but it just felt weird because I'm like, they don't care about me anymore. But it's so
It's
great.
a ego hit at first, but
Yeah.
then you're like, "I just wanna be invisible."
Right. Yep.
'Cause, like, even hiring staff, I do the initial interview before it goes to Letha. I'm not the owner. I'm just some random
Mhm.
dude.
Yep. So it's so funny. I was at my son's baseball game the other day. A guy comes up to me. I'm wearing my It's Vinyl Y'all shirts, my wardrobe, different colors, whatever. Oh, hey, you work at It's Vinyl Y'all? Yeah, I do. Oh, cool. Y'all are working on something for me on my boat. Awesome. I start asking him about the job a little bit just to, entertain something he was excited about. And I don't know, a couple minutes later, his daughter walks up and she knows us and she says, well, Dad, I didn't, whatever. I didn't know you got that done here, that kind of thing. And he said, well, he owns the place. He's like, well, you should have said that. And I was like, well, why should I have said that? Because it didn't matter. And really, it probably would just make you think differently of me. But like, if we go on installs and I'm there, I just tell people I work there. Like, I'm just another guy that is part of the team, right? Because that's what I am. And yeah, I do own the company. I pay the bills, all those things. But like, I feel like it puts people in a different mindset immediately, like as if you're trying to feel or seem better or something like that because you are the quote unquote owner. But I like being just a guy here. I mean, my team respects me as an owner, but they also see me as a team member when I'm out there doing an install or up front helping or teaching them on new software that we've been working on or things like that. We're all we're all on the same plane, doing the same job, working towards the same goal. And they know at the end of the day, I control kind of everything that's here if I really wanted to, but that's not the way I approach them. It's more of a, you know, um, linear type approach.
Well, it's it's fundamentally allowing people to think for themselves and have their individual roles that they're responsible for, which is the most important thing, because when you do put yourself at the Letha runs the shop. Most people run the shop like this, where everybody's at the bottom and then she's at the top, and she's like, "No, mine's like this. I'm
Mhm,
holding you guys up, but you
mhm,
guys are the business."
right,
And, I make sure that you have your needs, but you guys are, you know, all that weight is on my shoulders, but I'm just the bottom of it.
right,
And I thought that was a pretty cool perspective. But also in doing what you did, you get a true transparent view of your business of how it is running on the eye of the public that you're dealing with,
right.
which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, I guess like if I can talk a little bit about kind of the software and stuff. And
Sure.
again, I don't know exactly what you want me to say or not, but
It doesn't
talking
bother
about
me. These are fully
yeah,
transparent.
cool. So we've been using Shopbox and Google Voice and Gmail and Google Calendar and all the different things, but it's a lot of disconnection. And so we came to you. We were really interested in Torque, and we've kind of, as you said, just dove straight in head first, moved everything over. It has been a process. It has been a learning curve. There's been a lot of things that my team has been like, oh my gosh, like belly aching is what I'd call it. Just change is hard. New processes are difficult. We've been doing these things for years. Um, but man, getting everything in one spot has made our lives so much better. Um, and this is a plug for y'all because it's like what you've created and it's so cool because you created it as a wrap shop owner of somebody who's changed and developed processes and methods to grow a business, and you've proven that concept. And so it's not just like some big software company somewhere that did this thing and they're like, well, it works for you, like Shopbox. Again, not hating on them. We've used their software to its fullest extent and it's really great. But it falls so short in a lot of areas and they have no finger on the pulse. Like they keep saying for years and years and years, literal years, that they're going to do something and they don't. They never do. And then when there's an issue, you're talking to somebody that's from, another country and they're going down a list of like, hey, check this. It's like talking to Comcast or whoever, it's just they're reading from a script. They don't really know. They're not really solving a problem. They're taking notes and going down it. So just in the last, I don't know, 3 weeks, we've been moved over to this, and I feel like it's just going to increase our customer experience. But things like you mentioned like being able to kind of see how my business is operating from the customer's perspective. But like reviews are so big in that, and we've been really heavily focusing on reviews. Um, every job we do, we handwrite a thank you note. We've done this for years and years now. Um, for every single customer, handwritten thank you note by the account manager on that job, and we send it to them. And we include, and I can send you this so you can see it. But like when we print their wrap, we take their logo and we print little stickers that are about, say, 3 inches. And it's just like a little designed version of their brand. Two or three stickers. We put them on an envelope with the thank you note. We send it to them. People love their brand. They love stickers. But it's their stuff and they get so excited about it. And so then we give them a card. They scan a review link, little QR code, takes them straight to Google. We've gotten crazy amounts of 5-star reviews just from that alone. But that right there is another way that we've gained so much business. But I'm also getting like so much good perspective from these people. I mean, we tell them like we're not asking for 5-star reviews. We're asking them for honest reviews. Like review our company, please, and be honest. Like I want you to explain how my tent guy tinted your windows. There was a bunch of contaminants in the front windshield. We had to take it off and redo it, but we got you in the next available date that works for you. I don't know, you had a cold Coca-Cola sitting in our waiting room and whatever, all was well in the world and you were great. Even though it was a negative experience up front because you had a problem, we worked tirelessly to solve it for you quickly and you were really pleased. And that just shows that we're real people. Like we tell people all
Those
the
are
time,
the best reviews.
yeah,
Leave
like
me a negative, then positive,
right,
please. 'Cause that how many times have you looked online? How many things are fabricated anymore days? But
right,
like you go online and you see 500 5-star reviews. You're like, no shot that
right.
like that I don't want a 5-star review, no description. I want a 4-star review with a massive descriptive experience,
Hmm.
way stronger than a 5-star any day. It's like these guys are real. These are real reviews. And I think the only way you can get those lengthy reviews like that is actually making it so personal
Hmm.
because it's not a transaction now. It's
That's right.
it's truly like when you write that out like that, you're like, please, be descriptive, give us a fair, honest review.
Mhm.
And then what people don't realize actually what you're doing, whether you know or not, Google reviews are also plugs or kudos towards keyword results on your Google searches.
Right.
So you're going to get ranked higher naturally too, because now you have SEO within your reviews.
Mhm.
So I think it's ingenious. We unfortunately have not. We've talked about it for years. That's something John Duver has done for years. I've been coached and consulted by John, and I still have not implemented it handwritten letters to clients. But you know, I'm just incredibly impressed with y'all's customer experience. Like it's insane how good it is, and it shows.
Y give a financial incentive, for every note written. I mean, that's what we've done it.
Mhm.
You every thank you note that you write, that you turn in, you know, you get X% of, say, the transaction or something like that. Because it's just like a marketing dollar or
They're
whatever else.
marketing
It's like a
dollars.
commission. I mean, you're literally maintaining that relationship by sending that. I mean, I've had 2 people ever call me and say, "You can ask your" we have 2 account managers that are ladies, and then one of them's my dad that has semi-retired and come to work for me. I was like, "If you're gonna work, you might as well do something, you know, let's come work here." So he works here part-time. But we have 2 ladies that do that as well, and so but anyway, he was like, "You can tell your ladies up front to save the stamp because I've gotten a thank you note like each month basically, for all the jobs because we'll try to like combine them. Say if you do 3 or 4 or 5 jobs, we'll just write you one thank you note. But if another month comes, then we're going to write you another one. And he's gotten many of them. Or like we give out a goodie box that has some cleaner to clean your vehicle, some stuff that we kind of created for internal use. It's really great. We give a hat, we give a shirt, we give Yeti cups that have our logo on them, those silly pints. Like we buy all sorts of like little swag items, but like expensive ones that are meaningful. If somebody's spending a couple $1,000 with you, like give them something that's worth $100, right? But we build this little, it's a black box that is cardboard. It's got all this stuff in it. It's got aftercare instructions. It's got, contact information, review card, all that, but we present that to them. Well, we've had some clients that have gotten, say 15 trucks wrapped, in the last year, and they were finally like, "We have enough hats." And it's kinda funny, they kinda, like, put the brakes on us, but I would I'm t I it's like I tell my people, "I'd rather pull you back than push you forward," you know? And so when a customer tells me that too, I'm like, if it's an inconvenience, we'll stop. But we're doing that because you matter and your job matters, and we want you to know that. Like, we're writing you these notes because it matters. I would pay those stamps all day long to keep sending those to you if you're, good with it. But obviously, we can pull back on some of those people, and we don't have to send so many. But man, just those little things again to like show your appreciation. That way, when the low cost leader comes in, the guy that comes and moves a couple miles from your shop, and he's got something that seems intriguing. Oh, he's doing it for half price. He's doing it for a lot less. Well, yeah, he is. But go see what the experience. I always just tell people, go talk to him. Like, take your vehicle over there, your trailer, your truck, your van, whatever you're here to talk about, and go ask him the exact same question you're asking me, and then make your decision. And they almost always come back to us because they're like, they didn't even explain anything. They didn't give me a formal quote. He just gave me a number he wrote on a sticky note, or whatever. It's just really pitiful how little effort some of these shops put into things, and then they want to charge next to nothing to do the work. And like you said, there's no standard for their value. And I listened to a book recently. I listen to books as opposed to read, mostly because it's easier while I'm working. But um, the buying your time back, and it reinforced to me like that number that you're worth. And I think far too often we all don't consider that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think this has been a great call. I definitely want to stop by your shop sometime
Yeah,
and get some. I'd love to get some real team interviews and stuff like that someday. But if you could give one massive piece of advice to somebody out there that's maybe either struggling to grow or trying to grow their business, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give them?
I would say find somebody in the industry that you think is doing it the way you would like to do it, growing the way you want to grow, doing processes, procedures, whatever it is, one element of what it is. Reach out to them directly and ask them a question, or ask them, "Hey, can I pick your brain? Have a call for an hour." I think each of those people, I've never met a single person in this industry who was rude or inconsiderate or like, "I can't believe I don't have time for you." Everybody has done nothing but want to help. You mentioned John Duver. I've talked to him in person a couple of times at different events. Like, those guys, like him and Jim Miller and all the guys that have been in this forever, but also other guys that are you would never know are doing things, but they have fantastic, great growing businesses. Like, just reach out, put a post out on one of these groups on Facebook. Um, just don't be afraid to be a little bit vulnerable. Like, I need help. I'm looking for some guidance or some assistance or how to approach this. And I think far too often people get it's like not shy, but they're shy to like, show their where they're not doing so well, their inadequacies, and they're like, "I'm not," these guys don't want to talk to me, though they do. I think the truth is people want to help people. People that are in positions of success and growth, they want to share that with someone to see that happen again and again and again. So that's what I would say, man. I appreciate all you've done for me through your software, through just conversations and having me on here. I hope I didn't ramble too much on all that, but this kind of stuff to me is great. It makes me excited and gives me hope for the future of our company and all the others. It's like, let's all, band together and make this industry something that's even better than it is today.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on here, Austin,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we'll talk to you again for sure.
Yeah.
So, all
Absolutely. All right.
right,
Thanks, man.
see you.
See you.